A basic introduction to propositional logic. Demonstration 2.1, and in. A conjunction is symbolized by the ampersand sign. It means and, but, etc. And in basically puts two pieces together. It is a two-step rule. Problem 36. John is going to class today even though he hates me, and I'll be there too. But I heard Sherry is going. I guess we'll see what happens when we all show up. Step 1, find the code words. In propositional logic, a capital letter stands for an entire statement or proposition. So John is capitalized for you so that you know to use J as a capital letter, and it will stand for the entire thing, John is going to class. The I is underlined, so you know to use that as I'm going to class, and Sherry is capitalized, so S will stand for Sherry is going to class. Step 2, symbolize the relationships. Now go through each statement and see how these capital letters, these ideas, how are they related? First statement, John is going to class today even though he hates me. So even though he hates me, it's an idea, but it's not really relevant to the argument. And you can tell that because it's not capitalized or referenced in any way. The I is referenced, so I'll be there too. So there's basically two statements being made here, that John is going to class and I'm going to class. So using the codes we used in the last step, we use J and I. So we know this is a conjunction, and the even though part is irrelevant. Second statement, I heard Sherry is going. The but shows that there is a conjunction. However, this is a separate statement, so you can just put it as S. It would be acceptable to put J and I and S just because there is a conjunction, and conjunctions are commutative, so it doesn't matter which order you put them in. However, because it's a separate statement, we'll just keep it as S. I guess we'll see what happens when we all show up. So this last statement, there is a implied conclusion there. It gives the idea that this is going to be the final step of the argument. And so we see when everybody shows up, how do we code that? So we say, starting from the beginning, J and I, that was the first statement, and then the S that we got in the second statement. And then remember, once you have more than one dyadic connector, then you have to start grouping. So that's why J and I is in parentheses, and then you include the S. Step 3, formalize the sequent. After you look at the English statement and code it and find the relationships, you make the formalized sequent where it's all in symbols. So taking what we used in the previous slide, we have the two premises, J and I, and then we have S, and then we have J and I and S as the conclusion. Now, when you make your sequent, remember the premises are listed first, they're separated by commas, and then the conclusion goes after the turnstile symbol, which is the line with the dash next to it. Once you have your sequent, you set up the proof. So every proof that you do, of course, the assumptions go at the top and the conclusion at the bottom. So we have from the sequent, right? J and I is an assumption, S is an assumption, and then we put the conclusion, which is after the turnstile, right? We put that at the bottom. We're not exactly sure how many lines it might take, but it looks like a simple proof. So J and I and S. Just a quick note that we call supports for conclusions premises when they're in the English language and when we convert to a sequent. However, once we start putting them into a proof, we start calling them assumptions. Assumptions and premises are basically the same thing, but we start calling them assumptions once we put them in the proof. Now, look at your conclusion. How are you going to get there? You have to start thinking backwards and say, how can I get to J and I and S? Well, obviously, you're going to look at the last line. It is a conjunction, right? There's a major conjunction and a minor conjunction. The major conjunction is J and I and S. The minor conjunction is J and I and then S. So look at what's to the left of the conjunction, the ampersand symbol. That's J and I. You'll need that, and you'll need the second part, which is the S. So step 5, solve the proof. So after you place your assumptions and conclusion and you figure out how you're going to get to the conclusion, you have to justify each step. In this case, it's a very simple argument with a very small proof. And so you just have the one line that needs to be justified. We used lines 1 and 2. We combined them together, and that's called and in. Remember, it's a two-step rule, so you have to give both pieces, both of the conjuncts that you're going to use for the final conclusion. Here's the final answers, the sequent as well as the proof.